to be honest with you, Deon, my name, Diane Nash, whether as a character or a producer or any other manner, I do not want associated with this film.
Got it. Got it.
You and I, when we were talking, agreed that it cannot be absolutely accurate historically, because number one, you have to squeeze into a period of 2 hours things that happened over weeks or even months.
Yes.
And number two, you said that you had changed some things in order to heighten the suspense factor.
Yes.
So those two things being understood, I said that I was really strongly interested in historical accuracy to the greatest extent possible.
Yes.
And I found the script maybe 10% or 8% historically accurate.
Mm.
And 90% or more fiction.
Wow.
Yeah. And the tone, the spirit was not that of the Freedom Riders. John Lewis's character was really portrayed as something that he was not. And his and my relationship was portrayed as something that it was not.
Mm.
And I really think that doing films and that are supposed to be historical, that are not, is a terrible thing to do to present and future liberation struggle.
Yeah.
I do not want associated with this film.
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
And Doug and Summer might want to make a comment.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and that's fine. And I want to, yeah, I don't want to just, I'm not gonna, I want to actually talk about it if you guys don't mind, versus you know, I understand what you're saying, and I'm happy to hear you say this in whatever context it is, but I want to learn and understand, because what I want us to all understand is I didn't sit at a table and write this by myself with just an idea. This was multiple people, multiple books, multiple people giving their testimonies of what happened and how it happened. So this is backed by that. So what I find really interesting is—
Can I just cut in really quickly before we get into it?
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that it was being recorded.
Sure.
That this conversation is being recorded. And I
Yes.
also wanted to confirm that a copy would be sent to everyone.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
that's fine.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We could, we can send it when we get off.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, so where I was going with that was, creatively, this is why I reached out to you, Ms. Nash, because if you remember the very first conversation that we had ever, I told you that I wanted to get it right. And I also explained to you that I did not know and had not known, or no one that I knew had the ability to speak to you. And this is why I was hunting and searching and combing and finding and sending emails to wrong email addresses for so long, is because as a Black filmmaker, I wanted to get it right. I knew that the vision in terms of how it would go and how it would flow would be a little bit different, but I am eager, really eager, more than ever now on this call, to ask you or Summer or Doug, who I know have lived with this forever, can you guys give me some of the broad strokes of, number one, maybe 2 or 3 broad strokes of like what was way off, because that would help me a lot versus what I've read in the books or what we've actually been able to quote or get from the Lewis family. So for instance, with John, when I sit with them and I walk through the characters and they've all, it's 5 of them, and they read this script and we sat at a round table, their notes were completely different than what his character was. Their notes were actually what was happening with John when locked up, what was happening with John in the moment that he decided to do these rides. Their character energy was around what happened with John and how he felt when he was dealing with the government. So their notes they're in there, but their notes were those things. And that's why I said I need to talk to you, because if you understand, I'm trying to actually highlight the energy and what the 2 of you and the rest of the Freedom Riders were able to do. Now, the Freedom Riders, I think, is historic, but when you put it into a capsulated form of like, okay, how do you tell a story and a narrative story? What has to happen is there has to be a lead, and then there has to be people that follow the leads. And in this film, that's why I positioned the lead as you and John. And that's how we push it through. But that's why I also wanted to find out what you thought. So I say that from a place of thank you for sharing that with me. I'm not sure if you guys are open or not, but if you can tell me what it is or how you feel, or some of those moments, maybe I can get that adjusted and fixed and tweaked to your liking to make it be what it is supposed to be. Because my just so you guys know, me and Roxanne, everybody else around us, our intent is not to just go make this movie and be cool and make it. Our intent is, like, I've actually put down some giant films to focus on doing this right and not doing what they always do to us. So hopefully that kind of lays out a little bit of a line to you guys. So, you can kind of hear what I'm saying and make it be where it's not like, oh yeah, that's okay. Thanks, Diane. We're off. Like, no, tell me what you see or what some of those moments are, and maybe I can make those adjustments and fix that, because that's what I want to be. Is I want to be in pocket.
Well, you had talked about flying us down to the set,
Yes.
and I had thought, well, that sounds good. If I spent 3 or 4 days maybe on the set, I could do like we suggested and tweak the
Script.
script and say this isn't the way it happened, that is, and so forth. But as I read it, Deon, I really feel like the whole script would have to be redone. I also object to the falseness of the way John is portrayed, and feel like if you want to do, see, the articles I've read online announcing the film call it the John Lewis film and the John Lewis led Freedom Rides. And I think that if you want to take advantage of the fact that John Lewis is well known and people are more likely to come to the theater to see something about someone that they've heard of. How about doing a film based on John Lewis's autobiography, or one of the biographies that's been done on him? John Meacham has one. I haven't read it, but it might be very good. And I don't know if you've read Walking with the Wind, which is John Lewis's autobiography. But John led a very suspenseful life.
Yes.
I think you can find a really great film in that. And you wouldn't have to, tell all the falsehoods that are in the present script. That would be my best advice.
So Diane, is it more, let me ask you a question, because historically the things that are in the script are actually incidents that have been written. There's nothing in there that we wrote that I was not there, but historically what's in there, due to the archival people that have worked on the script, Steven Vosberg, who spent the last 4 years with John, this is all directly from the manuscript. So let me slide into a different position here, of not a filmmaker and a writer and a director. Let me slide into a position of just kind of being on the phone with everyone, that you especially, that lived this and did this. As you flip through the script and you go, okay, that's inaccurate, that's inaccurate, that's inaccurate. And then you said, no, well, John wasn't like this, he wasn't like that. Is it more, and again, I'm asking this, and this might be another call we do, but I'm asking this based on the fact that I'm asking, what is John's character doing differently than you knew him to be? And the reason I'm asking that is because it is very easy for the Lewis estate to say, yeah, this is great, because he's written very secretive, but at the same time finding his legging and becoming very strong. So a bit of it is like, yeah, if I was him, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. But the other side to it is you, Diane, who was there. You, Diane, who was making the phone calls, you who was putting things together along with the other people that were involved in a very, very high manner. So a little bit of it is me not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. A little bit of me is saying, okay, if there's a world where you could explain to me, and maybe it is a trip where everyone, maybe it is a 2 days that 3 days that we fly you out, and you just, not with any intent to do anything, but maybe it just helps me.
One of the greatest things about the Freedom Ride is that it did not have a leader.
Right.
And I think anything making anybody be the leader would be cheating present and future liberation struggle.
Now that is a massive no. That's a massive no. Okay, I'm still listening. Go ahead, I'm just writing.
So the John Lewis, that's one reason the whole script is not acceptable to me.
Right. Right. So a bit of it is.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
So I agree with you, grandmother. I just want to point out that it did have a director, and it was not clear from the script who that director was. Mm-hmm. And I think that's just like. I'm sorry?
It had a coordinator.
Or a coordinator. And it wasn't clear like who that coordinator was from the script, which
we know who that
was. Which script is this we're talking about that had the coordinator?
No, the Freedom Ride had a coordinator.
Okay, right. Okay.
Right. So pulling this back. Doug, I didn't hear you. Go ahead, say it again.
And no, I was just going to say, when she said director, it threw me off because I was thinking.
Yeah, I kind of figured she meant the coordinator, not. Yeah, I kind of read through that. I was going to say, so two things. There was not a direct leader at all, right? Which understood. And two, the ability that everyone actually helped each other and built and had camaraderie and worked collectively to do these things is a big piece to, because you said this first, it feels like that's one of the biggest, not the biggest, but one of the bigger pieces, Ms. Nash, that you feel like needs to be fixed and redone, correct?
Definitely.
Okay. Can you tell me a couple more things? Because and let me just tell you why I'm asking you this. And Doug and Summer, I want you guys read it and you have your take. And obviously Miss Nash has the strongest take of anybody because it's her and it's powerful. But I'm asking you guys this because I'm unwinding and I want you guys to understand that this is not a studio saying we're going to go make this tomorrow and that's it. This is director and a bunch of people that want to go make it with some very big studio people that are getting behind it that is saying time out. We are getting ready to make some polishes, some changes, some adjustments because we want to have it right. And we also want to have Miss Nash involved. So let me take that step because I know there's been probably more than I could count, but I know there's been a few incidents where people have come, Miss Nash, to you, maybe Doug, maybe Summer, I'm not sure, and pitched something that just wasn't right. And then they just went off and did whatever they wanted to do. I'm not that person. And I've told that to you guys a few times, Miss Nash, on our first 2 calls. I wanted to make sure you understood that. I'm actually different. Like me and Roxanne, we're like, that's why I'm on the phone still. It didn't hang up like, all right, thanks. I want to find out where you might think, oh my God, it's a lot. I might not see that. I see the movie as a structure. So I see like, okay, you have to change that. Then I see, oh, you got to change that. Or you might have to adjust that. That's how I see it. So I'm more of a fixer versus a like erase it all and then do it again. Because structurally, what you just said in terms of like everyone, then that makes sense because now you do is balance out more characters and pull more energy into those conversations where it's not just about John and or Diane. And anyway, so just saying that from that aspect, I want to make sure you guys know I'm not abandoning what this film, and I'm not abandoning the idea, Miss Nash, even though right now you're absolutely not liking it, don't want to do it, all that's fine. I'm asking you guys if you could just walk me through some of those more ideas or thoughts. And like I said before, I would be 1,050,000,000% sure that even if there was a world where we could do another couple of these, where I could adjust and then send it back for you to read and or fly everyone out to California for a couple of days. And, no, nothing's, you could walk away and be like, it still ain't right. But I just think it will help me. And I'm trying to make sure I say this clearly as a Black storyteller. And it's not very many of us that get to do this. There was a white filmmaker that was originally going to be doing this. I'm like, well, I got to try to get in here. I think the issue that I'm having is there's a lot of books, there's a lot of historians, there's a lot of people that have completely different conflicting stories of what happened. And that's why I wanted to speak to you. So hopefully that I made myself clear with that.
You did.
Well, I'll tell you. I was really disappointed. I did not want to have this phone call because I really like you a lot, Deon, and really gravitated towards your energy and your personality. And I wish that read would have been a little different. But I do think the whole approach is incorrect. It is, despite all of the action and thrilling moments, it's really to me, this is just my opinion. The movie should be character driven and not action driven.
Mm.
That's where the whole story really was, on those people and their resolve and how they, overcame all that.
Right.
And the characters weren't developed. I actually know this story. It's a part of my life, the
That's
Freedom
right.
Rides, and I know the people, a lot of the people
Yep.
that were there, and how they talked and dealt with each other and went through all this stuff is really really quite amazing. I was disappointed because there's when I heard you're making this, I was like, man, this is going to be an awesome movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very different from, it has a lot of the elements of like a Black and Blue, or because, you know, there's just action aplenty. But I don't think a film like this you'll really capture what was really going on without having the characters really
Right.
really develop.
And pop off the screen.
Yeah, and pop off the screen. But to me, that's where the story lies. And I thought that really this film would have the best of both worlds.
Right.
You know,
So,
have all
yes.
that action and then tell that story. And
So
but this was not the story.
Doug, let me ask you this. Inside, because this, mind you guys, I'm just right. Doug, inside of the world, this is good. So inside that world, to you, like if we pulled, just look at it, look at the movie as an equalizer for a minute, okay? And I'm sorry, I'm asking you guys this. As you can see, I'm a sponge. I'm trying to get, I'm like, yo, I'm already into it. So if you looked at this, if you looked at this movie like a sponge, I mean like an equalizer. If I pulled, say, if I pulled the lever and made the action pull back a bit toward the entire middle of the film, right? And I pushed up character, people, how they're feeling, what they're actually doing versus FBI and what they're doing, like politically, right? Is that an adjustment you would make?
Well, yeah, I would write it from that standpoint. I would even develop, that's how my mother, I would even develop Bull Connor and those other characters. Because that's really important, how crazy those racists were.
That's right. That's
right.
right.
To really, and
Go ahead.
And to, you know, so it would matter. So people would really understand deeply what the climate, what was going on. It's you got to just tell that story, who people were, what the condition were, what they're overcoming. It's the story.
Right.
You know?
And right. And in that world, if I was to isolate John, Miss Nash, Zwerg, what is there? Would you throw up one more other character that what other two? Because I understand now this is where it gets a little tedious. You can't tell the story of 5 different people in one film, right? In terms of like who's leading the push or the charge with the film. You can't have 5 leads, 6 leads. It won't work. But seeing the movie through the eyes of Diane and John, and then through 2 others, right? Along with bringing up the other characters, the Bull Connors and all that stuff, and pulling the action back. Who would those other writers be in your mind, Miss Nash? Like who else? Like just not that they have to take a number or be like, oh, he was better than him or she was better than him. Just who else, character-wise, story would you like to feel or see in this?
See, one of the things I was going to say was that the way the script is now, you could take out John Lewis and substitute Paul Brooks, for instance, and have Paul Brooks say everything John Lewis said in the script. And one would be as I just have to say ridiculous as the other.
Right.
It would be, you know, falseness. Or you could put, you know, who is William in the script? Is that supposed to be William Barbie?
Yes.
Uh-huh. You could put William in
the same place, right? And it'll be just the same exact thing, right? Because everyone's kind of, I get it. Like I understand exactly what you're saying. Was there so here's a bigger question. Miss Nash, is your question. Doug, Doug, thank you for saying what you just said, because you really just unlocked something for me, like creatively, where I could hear it. Let me ask you guys this. Me being on the phone, Roxanne's on the phone, you guys on the phone. Look, I understand where where you all are at, which is perfectly fine. It's a creative, this is art. Would you guys be open to having a conversation with me or coming to see me if I flew you all out just for a couple of days?
Well, let me ask you something.
Sure.
Are you willing to not make John Lewis the main character or the main of two characters?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my approach would be, look, we understand that. Now I'm gonna put my marketing hat on for a minute. Okay. We understand that John has been pushed and blown up into a place of celebrity, if you will.
Right.
Okay. So when you look at a film like this, now this is how this works. And we kind of had this conversation when we were all on last time. When you look at a film like this, and you understand that you have a shot right now to make this movie where it could be a big, big theatrical film, whatever version of it is that we're gonna do. Your notes, us all involved, we sign up. We did it. It's great. I'm gonna always find how to make it move. That's me. That's my life. That's my art, right? Like no matter, I'm gonna always find how to make it go and make it be successful. Understanding that John has that energy. Diane, this could very well be, although you don't want that, this could very well be the more about you and what you were doing. As long as we're telling the right story and we're pushing it forward, John's going to be the beacon that is going to make people like, I want to see like what he was doing when he was young. How did he get to do? And if he's learning from others and he's being a part of a group, then that's what we need to make him. We would just basically take him every now and again and push him out front a little bit so we could know, so people could feel like they're getting his story a little bit more as well, right? But by no means of imagination is this needs to be John Lewis's movie. This is the movie about the Freedom Riders, and John Lewis and Diane Nash and William and everybody else is a part of that. So that's my answer to that. And I think Roxanne would agree with me 100%. Like I've been doing this for like, I don't know how long now. And why I'm asking you guys now, the question I am is because we found a really, really great punch-up writer. And it could actually be perfect right now if we got together, because I'd be like, okay, look, I'm in a version now. So I say, hey, look, let's get these things. Let's make those adjustments. And Diane, let me hear your voice. And I know that you look, from Chicago, man, like we the real people. And what I'm saying is I know at the end of the day, you gonna know, okay, D, you gotta move that a little bit. You gotta push this up a little bit. I know that's not exactly what that is, but I also know that you're gonna give me the real information I need to make this accurate. It's imperative that we get it.
What is a punch-up writer?
It's another, I'm bringing it, so we're doing another draft, right? So there's a writer, there's someone that specializes only building up characters, only specializes in telling more story. That person is getting ready to come on board for this film. And the reason they're coming on board is because I knew I was talking to you. So I was already a world where I was going like, okay, according to what Ms. Nash says, we're going to have to go back into the script and polish and do some things. So it doesn't matter if you're saying, oh, Deon, you now have to, it's not about cleaning the house. It's about actually reconstructing the house a little bit. It's the same thing if I'm going to be in the script. So it just comes down to me figuring out, okay, how do I get what you need in there and keep the pulse of what I'm trying to do? And that's a conversation, especially when people are willing to work together. And that's why I wanted to make myself clear. I think, and Doug, I just want to throw this back to you. I think the same of you, Miss Nash, and you, Summer, as well. I know you guys, have your defenses up, and you have to have your guard up at all times, because this is ugly out here for all of us, and especially for you being someone as legendary as you are. But I just want to make sure you guys know I'm coming in peace in a world of like, hey, I don't want to be the guy that puts the movie out. It wins everything, it does everything. And Miss Nash has an article that comes out of Esquire, like, I didn't know what the hell that was. Like, that's just not what I want to do. And I want you guys to be on the carpet when we premiere this movie. And I want you to be there when we get the Oscar for the film. That's who I am. So when I'm done, I'll be like, yo, we did that the correct way. And that's the bottom line.
Well, Deon, I'm going to tell you, 3 years ago, there were 3 documentaries that came out during Black History Month. I was interviewed and appeared in all 3 of them. And after that, I decided I was not going to do any more documentaries.
Right.
Unless I knew the filmmaker and had reason to believe that it would be done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
One filmmaker, I was so ticked off that after the film, I called him up and I said, do you really believe that that was the way the Voting Rights Act came into being? Because he had represented that Martin Luther King had decided, after talking with Lyndon Johnson, to make Lyndon Johnson do the voting thing. And I knew that this filmmaker knew better because he had interviewed me and a bunch of other people. And he did a lot of double talk. And finally he said, the network executives wouldn't have it any other way.
What?
And I thought, what a shame that he was not, starting out or anything. He had money. This filmmaker was willing to sacrifice the truth in this film that millions of people were going to see. And Black history is a powerful thing. It was reading Black history that made me decide that I wanted to be in that number.
That's right.
Of people. And, Black Lives Matter had all those people, to a large extent, wasting their time.
All the time.
Because they were doing what they had seen on television. And to them, that was what a movement is about. Yep. So it's not a little plaything, it's not a thing to fool around with me. It's serious.
That's right.
And that documentary was so far off. And I have really been upset with the way history and the media have portrayed Martin Luther King. I loved Martin Luther King. I think he made a tremendous contribution, but this making him superhero and
that's
hero,
right.
That is wrong.
That's right.
Because it didn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really committed to telling the truth.
Yes.
And that's making John Lewis any more than the other 30 people is not the truth.
That's right. Got it. So okay, so with that being said, I'm gonna just say this again. Ms. Nash, can you help me get this right? I know you've had all these experiences. I don't know who those people are. I do know that Hollywood plays a mean game when they come. I mean, you've seen it now. You've seen it with the other film. I don't think your conversation with the other people is like this at all. I'm have to assume it wasn't. But I am asking you if there's a world where you, Doug, as and I know you've just kind of gotten over the COVID, or if I come there, it doesn't matter. If you guys want to fly to California, come to LA for a couple of days and get grab a suite or Airbnb, that way you don't have to be around nobody. I could set all that up with the hopes as an artist that I can sit with you and just get it right. Period.
There are a couple
Uh,
of
Can I,
Number
can I,
one.
can I ask a question before you answer? I am a little, my concern is that when you were confronted with what my grandmother said initially, your response was that this script was historically accurate and that it was based off of manuscripts and books. And I just feel like there's a disconnect between like the script that we're talking about and the script that you're talking about, because I'm just like, I'm really curious to know where it was, you know, that my grandmother was kicking down chairs and that John Lewis was needing to instruct her on how to act in public. And I'm just, there's like a scene in which she is about to stop the movement and she's saying that she's a colored woman and that's how the world sees her and her grandmother. And then, you know, Black men are telling her, you're not a colored woman, you're a woman. And these are like some serious things. And I'm just, if you had said, I would be less concerned if you had said, well, actually, you know, like this is a super rough draft. We didn't do the research that we should have done. We should have talked to you first. If you had said that, I would be less concerned, but I'm super concerned because you seem to believe that this script is somehow accurate.
Yeah, so let me address that. First off, I've never had a moment on any calls with you guys where I've been telling you guys that, you know, this is it. Everything is what it like. You have, if you look at the front of the script, there's 3 writers on the script. I'm the 3rd. The script came from Stephen Vosberg, who's an historian who spent the last 10 years of his life with John Lewis day to day, writing a memoir for him and also writing this screenplay. That's where the script came from.
Did Vosberg publish his memoir?
I believe so. And he's a great guy, by the way. When I grabbed the script, my job is what I did, which is to go in, fact check, ask different questions from him and other sources that are around it, and do my diligence, which I did, which was to give it to the John Lewis estate, Ben Crump, and everybody else that I can get to read it. I've been searching for Miss Nash for over a year. I finally got a number and an email, and Stephen helped me do that. So when we talk about writing and where it's coming from, and you know, you seem to think that's not my intent, Summer, at all. I don't have to do this movie. I want to do the movie. I did not have to go find Miss Nash. These people would have been perfectly fine with me writing anything and being like, that's what it is. That's what they do. But I took another course of action because I wanted to do it right. I have multiple things that I'm doing after this that are just as big. And part of my signature as a director and a writer is to make sure that I do it right. I've now become the hottest Black filmmaker and writer in Hollywood. That is simply because I am me, not anyone else. So what I'm doing on the phone right now is not about me seeming to think that the movie is accurate. If it was, then I wouldn't be telling you before you read it to please tell me what you see and what you think. I would not be asking you to please sit down with me and help me get it right. And if you guys don't feel like you want to get it right or help me to get there and be a part of it, then that's fine. I will put the script down. I won't do it. That's just what it's going to be. But with no attachments, no I'm doing it, no any of that, You guys seen Harriet. That was a complete catastrophe. None of that was real. None of that happened. That was a British woman playing. It was all, and it won an Oscar. No one from her estate was even asked a question. No one was involved. You guys have had the highest people in the world, from Oprah Winfrey and Lee Daniels, to reach out to you and say, oh, okay, cool, well, we'll just do what we want to do. That's not what happens. That's why I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to do it differently. So look, I think if you guys can think on it, it would be beautiful. I think it would be great. I have the time right now to actually be able to fly to you or bring you guys all out. I think it might be really cool to take a trip. And like I said, we could do get a house somewhere in Beverly Hills or whatever, put you guys there. And then that way, Miss Nash, you don't have to be around a bunch of people. And then I could just come and, sit with you for a couple of days and eat dinner and just talk and get my computer, and we could just write it out. And as I'm getting those notes, I could be accurately putting it into the script and getting a new draft. By the time you fly home, you get yourself settled back in, everything is all right. Give me a week or two, and then we'll have something that you can read that I believe will make you feel like we were there and the manuscript is right. So hopefully that addresses a little bit of that, Summer. If it doesn't, that's all I got. That's who I am.
I have a couple of items. I recognize that as the director, you have to have the final say. When I read the script for Selma and then saw the movie was considerably different from the script. And I feel vulnerable because if I came out and worked with you on the script, I'd have to trust you a lot to know that you had the final say over how it goes. That's one thing. The other thing I'll be very honest with you about, I am profoundly serious about descendants of the emancipation or descendants of slavery.
Yes.
Keeping our own culture.
That's right.
And I can't help but notice, and I know, this is part of being in Hollywood maybe, that two of the script writers are white. And you were the third. I'd have to trust you a lot to do this. And I'm not sure, to tell you the truth at this point, whether I do or whether I don't.
Yeah, and
I don't know you well.
Right. neither one of us know each other like that, right? But yeah, look, it is a situation where this is why I do have the script, is because it was going to be handled the wrong way. I'm trying to get it right. So it would be a trust thing. It would be me and you and the group of us putting this together and building together. And it would absolutely be me with the final say in terms of what movie I make. It would not be anyone telling me, change that or you can't do that. It would be, we read that script, that's the script we're going to make. And a bit of that is like, obviously things change when you're on the movie set. There could be a scene that doesn't make it, or it gets edited, or depending on how much time it is. I mean, it's a lot of factors, but the one thing that I will guarantee you is that we will not change the story at all. I wouldn't switch it, or I wouldn't do all this work to do that, only to have you do what the exact reaction that I was fighting to not have happened, which is you come and say, that's not what I wanted to do. I can get that now. So I wouldn't do that work. But yeah, that's why I wanted to just tell you guys, it's something to think about. It's a small window for me right now to be able to do those things, to adjust those things, to, create that world. But outside of that, yeah, this is, me reaching across the aisle and saying, do you have time and would you like to do it? And obviously I would not have you do this for free. I would pay for your time, pay for your energy. And you and Doug, and I'm not sure if some of you could come from where you are, but yeah, it would be great, man. It'd be great just to do that exercise to get it right and see if, when we're done, if you say, man, this is really close to what it was. I like this. Or I like it a lot. Let's move forward and keep building it as we go. Because what you'll learn, Ms. Nash, is when you get on a set, and Doug, you might have this experience because I think you do a lot of stuff, different things as an entrepreneur. When you get on set, this is why I asked you if you could come, is because you would sit in a chair and I'm trying to get that actress to do these moments. And you might be like, D, I would always do this. And that's something we would never know. I sit like this in a chair, or I grab a pen like this, or when I get really mad, you know what I do? I do this. Like, those are things that only you could tell me, but you could tell me that when we're watching like a movie and we go make those adjustments. And that's why I've invited you, and I've invited, some of John's family. I'm like, man, let's make this thing really, really right. So anyways, I'm not going to keep you guys. I really, really, Miss Nash, appreciate you. Although, we have not known each other very long, I do love you deeply. It's the only reason I'm on the phone with you is because historically, me, Roxanne, I think I speak for all of us, we were like, we got to talk to Miss Nash, man. we got to talk to her, man, like straight up. So thank you so much for your time. Doug, your beautiful brother, your spirit, your soul. Summer, you as well. Yeah, look, I'm here. I know it's a no. I know it's hell no. I know I get it. But I'm also asking you guys if you want to think about it and let me know. I would be super duper open before we start writing again or touching the script again or whatever we're trying to do. I would love to see if I could do that with you before I make a decision if I'm not going to do the film. So I'll leave you guys with that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Deon.
Okay. Thanks so much, you guys.
Okay.
Appreciate the call. All right.
Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ms. Nash.
Thank you.